Many smartphones already use facial recognition to confirm that you're the rightful owner. But there are concerns about the rapidly developing technology that could someday allow police body cameras to identify people's faces. Earlier this year, San Francisco became the first city in the nation to ban cops from using the tech. Now, California lawmakers and activists are pushing for a statewide ban. LA Times business reporter Sam Dean looked into it. This is kind of concerning. Explain to people how facial recognition software works.
Basically now, if using machine learning technology, AI stuff, computers can look at a photograph of someone's face, pick a couple identifying characteristics like the distance between your eyes, where your nose is relative to your mouth, and then run that against a database of other photos and see if there's a match. And then if those photos are in a mugshot database or a DMV database, they can get your identity from your face.
Are any local agencies using it right now, like LAPD or the Sheriff's Department?
So LAPD is not. The Sheriff's Department is, but only in a very limited capacity. So there's kind of two different ways you can do it. One is real time, which is what the state bill is about. It's about banning it in body cameras, where it's basically like a constant ID check running on a little camera or on a surveillance camera. And there's also an investigative use, which is a little more like how you'd run a fingerprint through a database. Once you know you're looking for someone in particular, you're back in the office, you can kind of like run it through and see if it matches. So that's how the Sheriff's Department is using it, and that's only with mugshots, which is again a little more of a limited use. It's not against all photos on the internet, it's not against all photos of the DMV. It's very kind of targeted.
And critics of it are saying this is an alarming threat to our civil liberties, right? Because right now you have to have probable cause, right, if you're going to search me for something.
Yeah, right.
And police can't even just walk up and say, show me your ID, unless I'm driving a car or doing something wrong.
In California, you don't have to present the police your identification if they ask, and they can't arrest you if you don't. It's not a crime. It is in some places, but in California it's not. And this would mean that you don't get a say in the matter. They could just instantly identify you no matter what, just because they felt like it. If you're at a protest, they could just see who you are out of the blue. And then there's also problems with accuracy. So there's the problem if it is live in police body cameras or any kind of car camera that the police are using, they take a picture of someone or they see it on their footage and it runs through the database and brings back a false positive, and the false positive said this person is dangerous or known to be armed or there's a warrant out for their arrest. All of a sudden, the police just walking past you turns into a situation where they think that you're somehow dangerous. They might suddenly...
It could escalate to violence.
It could escalate very quickly to violence, yeah. And it's also the accuracy of these algorithms is worse for people of color and women and young people, which is a lot of people. And a lot of people who tend to interact with the police more often. So it's ripe for a lot of problems.
There's big business in this, right? There's a lot of money to be made. But the tech companies, according to your piece, are sort of split, right? Microsoft said, we're not going to sell to one California law enforcement agency because we're worried about civil justice issues, right? And yet Amazon's like, hey, we'll sell it to you. So what's the breakdown?
It's a real split. I mean, the industry, Microsoft is trying to get out ahead and say that we support ethics in AI. Google is also trying to create these internal boards about ethics and artificial intelligence, because all of this facial recognition stuff is one application of artificial intelligence. It's kind of the same issue. Whereas Amazon is, pretty actively pursuing law enforcement contracts for their facial recognition system. So it's really kind of all over the place. And as regulation of big tech comes up more in Congress, you kind of see different companies positioning themselves as like the good guys, the bad guys, into public safety and law enforcement, or into public safety in the sense of privacy.
Could this become a constitutional issue? I know that there's going to be hearings in D.C. as well as our lawmakers here in California talking about it.
So this bill that's up in the Senate right now, already passed the Assembly. It's only for police body cameras and the footage used from them.
That real-time stuff you're talking about.
Real-time stuff, and actually the footage from it after the fact. And it's specifically because police body cameras were introduced to be a kind of public safety measure to keep police accountable. And so the point was, we don't want those police cameras that were meant to keep police accountable all of a sudden turning into a mass surveillance system of everyone else. You know, it's kind of like against the purpose. But there are a lot of ways at the federal level. They're thinking of stopping the FBI from using facial recognition technology, defunding local initiatives to do it. You're right, there is a Fourth Amendment issue here. With just basic privacy rights, they could see it challenged in the courts. Some people argue that it'll be a slippery slope. There will always be mission creep, that if it's used at all, that's what the strongest advocates for banning it in San Francisco, for example, say, that there's always a danger it'll go further. Law enforcement doesn't have enough oversight to trust with this technology. But then there's also people who say that it could be warranted. It could be like wiretapping, where if you get a warrant, sure, you can run someone's face to try to solve a crime, to try to solve a cold case, something like that. but not this real time, not this kind of constant, you can just Google someone's face if you feel like it, if you're a
Well,
cop.
at least
Yeah.
with this technology, we're having conversations before.
Yeah, it's rare.
It's rare.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks.